In the last video I showed you how to remove and replace this lock. This lock is found in Ford vehicles, and at the end of this video I'll put a list of the cars you'll find it in. It's also used in the Tribute early model years. But this lock is known for failure, and when it starts to fail, what happens is you'll insert the key and you'll start to turn it and it will bind. And at this point you don't want to force it, otherwise you'll bend something or break something. You want to just wiggle it and turn at the same time, and it should give and go into the accessory or on position. But at this point you want to start thinking about taking this lock out ASAP and repairing it, otherwise it will get stuck in your car and you'll have a repair bill to get it working again. But once you have the lock out, the first step is you want to remove this back piece, this piece right here, and there's really no easy way to do it. You can try to spread it open to make it easier, but basically you'll just end up having to pry it off. And then once you get it off, set it aside, and then we'll go to step 2. Alright, step 2 is we want to remove the cylinder from the lock, outer lock shell. And the only way to do that is we have to pick it open, but since the lock is out of the car, it's easy to pick open. You can't use your key to get, once you insert your key and you turn the lock, the key's stuck there, so it won't let you pull the cylinder out the back. So what you want to do is just barely insert your key to the point where it's not, you don't want it to touch any of the wafers in the lock. And I'll show you what the wafer is in a minute. But you want to put light turning force on it and hold it in that position with one hand. And then these two grooves here, this side and this side, you can access the wafers, and I'm just using a cotter pin that I can fit in here and push these wafers down. And I want to do one side, and then I want to go to the other side, and I want to just keep going back and forth while I have that tension on the lock. And I hope I don't have to start over again. There, I got it to turn. And you want to turn it all the way and then slowly pull the cylinder out. And we can go to the next step. I forgot to mention that when you're pulling this cylinder out, make sure that these wafers don't fall out. There's a spring under each wafer that if you lose that spring, they're hard to find because they're so small. But the reason this lock fails, I'll show you now, it's because the key wears and the wafers wear, and when you insert the key, these wafers should be the same height as the cylinder. They shouldn't protrude past the diameter of the cylinder. And what happens is, because of the wear, they'll start to protrude, and you can feel it with your finger when you run your finger over it. And what you want to do with the key fully inserted is find the offending wafer or wafers. In this one, I think I had 2 of them that were causing the lock to bind. You want to find the offending wafer, take out the key, you want to remove the wafer. If you grab the wafer and if you push it towards the spring, there's a little round part on this side where the spring is. If you push it over towards the spring and pull it, they're easier to get out for some reason. But don't lose that spring. Set the lock down just do one wafer at a time because these have to go back in the correct order. Then you want to take a file and file over the top of the wafer, or the part of the wafer that's sticking through. It's usually the top. And just file it down a little bit, put it back in, and insert the key, and then check it. And if it's still sticking over, file it down a little bit, and just repeat until you have a smooth surface, so that the wafers aren't protruding past the diameter of the cylinder. Also, before we put this back together, I just want to show you that there's two other pieces to this lock. Just in case they come out on you, you know how to put it back together, but I don't see why it would come apart. But there's this piece, and then there's this piece, and the way that they go back together, I don't know if you can see that, this goes down like that, and then this piece just clips into place. Like that. Alright, let's put this back together. I want to show you that this piece comes out, this face piece, and it only goes in one way. I think, yeah, it only goes in one way. When you start to assemble this, you want this face piece turned all the way to the right, and it will pop out in this position, so don't let it. And then you want to take your lock cylinder, and there's this part of it that's protruding right here. That part goes into this part of the shell, and don't let any of your wafers fall out. And then you want to work the wafers down as you're pushing the lock in. I think I've got a wafer sticking yet. Come on. There. This cylinder is shaped to fit into a shape into this face piece. That's why you need it has to be in the correct position before the cylinder will go all the way in. Then you can just turn this face piece to the left, or counterclockwise, and everything will be back together. Then take your this piece and put it back onto the end piece. It just slides on, but it's, especially when it's never been taken off before, it's really hard. Put it back on, and you're all set to go. A few things to recap before I end the video. Let's see, what was I going to say? When you take the cylinder out, make sure that you don't lose any of the wafers or the springs. And when you're picking this open, make sure that the key can't be touching any of the wafers inside the cylinder. So you don't want to push the key in too far when you're putting turning force on the cylinder. And then you reach in back here to pick it open with whatever you're using, like a cotter pin. And also, when you're trying to pick it open, don't get frustrated if it doesn't open right away. Just keep going back and forth and double checking that you're not pushing the key in too far. Also, filing the wafers is kind of frowned on, I think, in the locksmith community, but doing this will save you a lot of money. If you had to replace this lock, rekit, and buy a new key, you're looking at a couple of $100s for the labor and everything. So yeah, this will save you quite a bit of money. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching.